One question I receive a lot is, what does my live rig consist of? And to be quite honest with you, it's changed quite dramatically over the years, and maybe even from year to year, really depending on necessity. What am I involved in at the moment? What kind of rig do I want to cover the most bases? And what kind of rig do I want to keep things as simple as possible? Recently, I've been doing a lot of local gigs in the area that I live in, mostly with a cover band project. Because a couple of years ago, after things started kind of opening up again and live music was back, myself and some very good musician friends of mine wanted to get together and just play some great music for folks who really wanted to just get back out there. And I was using at the time a Temple audio board with various effects, one thing being the HX Stomp, the Line 6 HX Stomp, in conjunction with the Line 6 Helix, and wiring those two things together, playing through a Power Cab 212. It worked really great, but it was kind of big and bulky. I mean, I had a big pedal board set up next to a Helix. I had to wire those in together. The reason I was doing that was on the pedal board, I was using the Stomp for the polyphonic pitch shifting mostly, because a lot of times we may be playing a song a half step down or a full step down. We even have songs that are 2 full steps down. And I really was getting away from this idea of pulling 4 or 5 guitars out with me, all at different tunings and constantly swapping guitars. I thought it'd be nice to just have a couple guitars out with me for a couple tonal possibilities, and then worry about the tuning with the polyphonic pitch shifting. So I was utilizing the HX Stomp, going into the Helix for my main amp and effects, and it was working wonderfully. I got tons of compliments on my tones and my sounds from other musicians and just folks that were out at our performances. So it was working great, but this year I really wanted to condense things and see if I could get that same power, or maybe even improve upon it, in a much more compact package. And I've done just that. So what modeler did I choose? Well, we're going to find that out in just a moment. So I've now condensed it down to one board, the same Temple Audio pedal board I had. And I want to give a shout out to the fine folks at Temple Audio. They're a company of fellow Canadians who are making what I feel are some of the finest pedal boards. They have their plate system, which we can rearrange pedals on a board, which is really nice in this scenario because I was able to just pull pedals off that I already had their plates attached to and just reconfigure things. So that was very, very handy. One other thing before I show you the pedal board, I just want to let you know, the wiring on this is not the final wiring. I'm actually waiting for a really cool new product, a great wiring kit. I'm going to rewire the board and do a video showcasing those cables in the very near future. But I did need to get this up and running for rehearsals the other night just to test it out, make sure everything was working. So I kind of have some makeshift cabling, so no comments about that. I understand it's not super messy, but it's also not as neat as I would like it for a finished product. So this is still a work in progress, but I think I have the final board where it's going to be at and allow me the flexibility that I need for this project and other projects, and something that's very portable. So without further ado, let's go take a look and see just what modeler I'm using, what configuration I'm using, and any other outboard effects. And you might be kind of surprised at just how stripped down and simple this actually is. All right, so here we are over at the pedal board. And as you can see, there's really not much going on here. We have the Temple Audio board that I was telling you about. I have the new Eventide H90, which I did a video about recently. I have the amazing new Morningstar MC6 Pro MIDI controller, which has just been a dream come true for this board. It's allowed me to do everything I need. I have a Mission Engineering expression pedal that's controlling everything via the Morningstar MC6 Pro. And finally, my modeler of choice. You might be surprised. It's not a Tonex pedal. It's a Line 6 HX Stomp. Now, having said that, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. I know I'll get questions saying, well, why aren't you using the Tonex pedal? And there's no other reason than I'm utilizing a lot of the effects from HX Stomp as well in conjunction with the Eventide H90. And I kind of need those effects right now. If the Tonex Stomp pedal was more effects rich, if we had more effects in it, or if it was a multi-effects, I would very likely automatically have that. Having said that, I'm going to be building another board. I'm really thinking of looking for another Eventide H90 and adding that on to a separate board with the Tonex pedal, because I think that would be an absolutely killer combination. Even Tonex pedal in conjunction with the HX Stomp would be killer as well, and I could have added that on here if I wanted, but I'm trying to keep things as streamlined as possible, and this is doing it for me now, as you'll see in a moment. Now, one other thing I wanted to show you is I was at a music store the other day and I made a bit of an impulse purchase with this little guy here. This is the X-Vive wireless system. It was like, I think, 179 bucks Canadian on sale, and I thought, you know, I really want to get back to maybe trying something wireless out, and I don't want to spend a fortune on it, so I thought, let's try this for some small gigs. I used it at rehearsal the other day. It worked great. So everything you hear today coming through my pedal board is going to be recorded through this little guy. So very cool. I think it's very nice. I can't really say too much about it because I've only tested it for one rehearsal, but so far so good. It worked really well. We'll test it at a gig, obviously with a backup of some cables in case things go wrong, but so far so good, and the price is right. So a little X-Vive wireless system for the guitar if anybody's interested in how I'm actually plugged into the pedal board today. All right, so back to the pedal board. Well, what I actually have here, starting at my HX Stomp preset. This is a preset that I have available on my website, and I'll have the link below. It is available for download if you want to grab it. There's an HX Stomp version, which is going to have 3 snapshots. Push, which is kind of edge of breakup, overdrive, and lead. There's also going to be an HX Stomp XL version, which is going to add another snapshot, which is going to be a clean snapshot. Now, a lot of folks might say, well, what do you do when you're performing? You need a real clean sound. I usually just go to my push snapshot and simply roll my guitar volume back. But a lot of the stuff we're doing right now, I don't really have a need for a super pristine clean sound. So what I have with that preset is my basic amp sounds, and I've got a couple effects in there, a little bit of dynamic ambience verb just to give it a little bit of depth to the sound. And everything is being controlled by the Morningstar MC6 Pro. So over to the Eventide H90, what I'm using that for mostly for this project is just for detuning. And you'll see here the A button is going to be my polyphonic pitch shifting turned on and off. My B button is going to be for my delay on and off. Now, if I go over to the Morningstar MC6, you're going to see that my bottom 3 buttons are Snapshot 1, Snapshot 2, Snapshot 3, and you'll see that these are changing on the Stomp as I switch. Now, up on top, you'll notice I have Teen Spirit and Alanis. So we're obviously doing a Nirvana song in this cover band. And when I switch that, it just switches in a bubble vibrato and to the proper snapshot. So I don't have to be tap dancing. I can just kind of create almost more snapshots in the Stomp just through MIDI. And then there's another one called Alanis, and we were just testing this song out the other day. So if I step on that, it'll take me over to Snapshot 1 and engage some tremolo. If I just want to get out of that, you'll notice I can move around nicely. If I want to engage some delay, so the delay coming from the H90. Now, if I wanted to do some drop tuning, I can do this one of 2 ways. I can engage the drop tuning right from the Eventide pedal. But I can also come and page over on the Morningstar MC6 Pro MIDI controller. And you'll notice I can engage or disengage detune from the MIDI controller. And I can go between anything from a half step down, full step down, 1.5 steps down, and 2 steps down. So really useful and gives us a very quick way to be able to jump around between any of these drop tunings, and quite incredible quality as we would expect from Eventide. They've got a great processor in this and really no artifacts that I can really feel, especially in a mix, and the latency is amazing on it as well. You'll also notice here that I have the ability to just go to the HX Stomp now through the Morningstar MC6 Pro, turn on and off my effects. I have a vibrato, I have an overdrive that I can turn on and off, and a tremolo. So I can control my effects very easily from the MIDI controller. I also have it set so there's an auto engage on the Mission Engineering expression pedal. So I have it plugged into the Morningstar MC6 Pro, and I've got it set to emulate foot switch 1 on the HX Stomp, which allows me then to have auto engage. So basically on this particular preset, I can simply move that expression pedal and it's going to engage a wah-wah pedal for me. When I return it to the heel position, it disengages. So that's really, really cool. But I also have another purpose for that we'll talk about in just a moment. If I page over yet again on the Morningstar MC6 Pro MIDI controller, I now have it set up to change presets. So you'll see here it's Killing in the Name of, another song we do, the great Rage tune. So if I click over to that, the tone doesn't really change too much. But watch what happens when I now auto engage the Mission Engineering expression pedal. Or I have a different preset for eruption. Or I can just go back to my original kind of all-purpose preset, and then the expression pedal becomes a wah again. And I can also just bank back over to control my snapshots. As you can hear, I'm in need of a tuner. So I have this button up in the top of the Morningstar MC6 Pro that I have set that if I long press it, it engages a tuner. And I can get that in the ballpark. Now, if I press that again, disengages it, but this button also doubles as a tap tempo. You can hear the tape echo on the Eventide H90 kind of doing its tape echo thing as the tempo changed. All right, so there it is. That's the pedal board. Now, you might ask, how am I powering all of that? Because we have a pretty power-hungry HX Stomp and a pretty power-hungry Eventide H90. The Morningstar MIDI controller, not crazy power-hungry, but I'm actually just powering this off a True Tone CS7. It has a maximum output of 1900 milliamps, which you might think wouldn't be enough, but when I hooked this up, I let it run an entire day. I used it at rehearsal. I've messed around with it. There has been nothing that's gone wrong as far as powering this pedal. Everything is behaving as it should, so it seems to be working. I also have a CS12, but I just didn't need it. I thought maybe I would. So there are specific converter cables you have to use to make sure that the CS7, the True Tone CS7, works properly with the Eventide. We have the polarity reverse cable, which makes it center positive, I believe. And then the HX Stomp, you have to use that same cable, but then with a reverse polarity to, I believe, bring it back to center negative, if my memory serves me correctly on all of that. So before you start hooking anything up, if you do something similar, make sure to read your documentation. Make sure you have the proper connectors. You don't want to do any damage to your equipment. I'm not going to be responsible for any of that. Do your own research, so I'm not giving any advice on that. So I think I covered everything. That's going to be my pedal board for the time being. I've done one rehearsal with it. It worked flawlessly. I'm really enjoying just throwing that in the pedal board bag and out the door. I'm running that into a Power Cab 212 live, and then from the Power Cab to front of house, and I am all set. I've got everything I need, and I have the ability to program much deeper, complex tones if needed, depending on the gig or the session or the situation that I am in. So I hope that you guys found that enjoyable. So yes, it's this many years later. I'm still utilizing the HX Stomp and absolutely loving it. What an incredible piece of gear. And if you want to grab that preset, which is going to be that basic core amp tone with a couple of effects, all the details are on the product page. That is available on my website at the link below. And there's a demo video of me utilizing it in a mix there as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate you sharing your time with me. Please like the video, share it with anybody you think would get some use or enjoyment out of watching it. And also please subscribe to my channel, hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content out. I will be back really soon with some more. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in. Ciao for now.